Well done, Savva. Starting with my microphone on mute. Shows how long since I've done this properly. Big up. Good morning. Welcome to every single one of you. Was going to do an upload video and then I thought, well, why not? Why don't we have some interaction? Why don't we have some conversation? See where it leads. The beauty of a summer transfer window, the beauty of not having football on or not having Spurs on from our point of view is that it allows you to reflect, right? It allows you to see what's going on, what do we need, what's changed, what's different, what have we done well, what needs to be adapted, what needs to be tweaked, how do we refine our transfer strategy, how do the fans all unite? I mean, never going to happen at Tottenham. And it always makes me intrigued, to be honest, at how Tottenham Hotspur run as a football club. What's tolerated by some, what isn't tolerated by other, what's perceived as positive by some and perceived as negative by others. And I really find the whole thing fascinating. I find it fascinating that YouTubers can put out a video and the hate that comes back in the chat because people don't want to actually just engage or have a conversation. For example, I had one guy this morning said, I don't know why you're always so angry about Spurs. I'm just talking. I'm just having a video. I'm not angry about it. I've kind of come to the realization over the last decade or so that this is who we are. But I wanted to discuss today about what the plan is. And it's an interesting one because some football clubs you look at and you go, right, this is their plan. You can see what they're implementing. You can see if it's a long-term project. I hate that word, but a long-term journey or whether it can be achieved quite quickly. And other clubs you look at and go, God, what's the plan? What is the plan? Some try and fix it like that, like Chelsea did. Some want to build it over time, like I suppose like a kind of Newcastle are trying to do or an Aston Villa are trying to do. And then you come to a Tottenham Hotspur, and whenever I talk about Tottenham Hotspur, I try and remove that biased nature that lives within all of us as tribalistic football fans. But my head I always find myself scratching my head, banging my head against a brick wall when looking at Tottenham and trying to work out, what are we? What are we? What's the strategy? What is the process that we're putting in place to go from where we are? And let's be fair, realistically, where we always have been, I believe that for the last 24 years, our average league position has been 6th, 7th. So, there's been a second place in there. There's been some 11th places in there, some 8th, some 6th, some 5th, some 4th, a 3rd. But our average league position, if I'm not wrong, is 6th or 7th, which is fine, right? It's okay. But when you have an ownership that come in and rip down the heart and soul of the club in terms of the stadium, they rip down White Hart Lane with all its memories of winning there, all its memories of the greats, the Blanchflowers, the Greaves, the Mackays, the Mabbotts, the Perrymans, the Ginolas, the Gazzers, the Hoddles, the Waddles, the Linekers. I could go on and on and on and on and on. We rip that down. And that's fine. We rip it down. Loads of clubs have ripped down a stadium. No problem. There's no problem at all, right? No problem. But we ripped it down, replaced it with this great behemoth of a shiny bowl. And at the time, I remember, for the kind of 5 years leading up to it and then however many years it took, the message out there was, this is going to help us compete. This is going to change the way we work in the transfer market. This is going to attract better footballers. This is going to give us more gravitas. And the more I look at it, by the way, I will come to some questions in the chat in a minute and super chats and stuff like that. But please smash the like button and please subscribe. But the more you look at it, nothing's changed. Now, the finance experts will get out their calculators and go, oh, we spent this then and now we spend this. But that's inflation. All clubs are spending more money now. My worry is that whilst we've done all this brilliant stuff off the pitch. Whilst we've done all that, the stadium is phenomenal. We know that. Credit where it's due. The training ground is phenomenal. I've had the pleasure of going there once. Phenomenal training ground. It's literally like going into a 5-star resort. Whilst we've built the flats and the hotels and casinos and this, now that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. But that plan's great. What I've always been concerned about, and this is the reason why I will never change my stance on Levy and ENIC, and it doesn't matter how much people want to try and ram down your throat about economics and what's happening in the world, they've never had a plan. And over the last few years, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a number of different managers where each time we come out with strap lines, don't we? We come out with strap lines like, oh, it's a new project, be patient. Oh, it's a new manager, be patient. Oh, I like what the club are implementing here. Oh, when these youngsters grow up together, they'll all be brilliant and we'll win the league like Man United did with their kids. And I get it. The optimism needs to be there. I get that. And I understand why fans like me are viewed as negative. I get it. But surely as time goes on and this notion of a plan, of a project, of the youth coming good, of Spurs wanting to get better and once the revenue kicks in from the stadium, after a while, after all of that has not turned out to be true, at what stage do we realise this is who we are, this is what we want to be, whilst charging, the second most money, but I think it's the second most behind Arsenal for a ticket in world football. And I'm just keen to know, is there anybody in the chat who thinks differently to me? I don't see a plan. I don't really see what the project is. I see every year, no matter how much you wrap it up, no matter who the manager is, whether they're loved or loathed or anywhere in the middle, no matter who the scouts are, the director of football, no matter if you've got a Scott Munn involved, no matter whether you love Levy or hate Levy, I just see that it feels very repetitive. Now, we can wrap this into just a transfer window conversation and people will... What I love, right? What I love is I know the moment my video stops that I'll get about 90% of people that want to have a football chat. And I love that. And those people will know, you are in the chat. You send in a message about football, even if you respectfully disagree. We have a back and forth about football and we move on. Then you get the 5 to 10% that just want to say, you're negative, you're angry, that don't actually really listen to the content. And I feel for those people, but that's the internet, right? And that's what I've learned. But is there anyone in this chat right now, just a small selection of Spurs fans, right? Is there anyone in this chat right now that believes that the path we're on is different this time? That there is a clear pathway to success? Whether that be a league title further down the line, whether that be winning some cups, whatever it is there anyone that believes that? Is there anyone that I'd love to know? I'd love to hear what that looks like as a breakdown. Without the slagging off match back and forth, I'd love to know, well, yeah, look, they've implemented this so that this can happen. Or it's what we call in my industry, the which means that bridge. And for anyone that doesn't get that metaphor, it's we've done this, which means that, right? And unfortunately, what I see is I see a lot of the same repetitive behaviors every single summer, in every single manager selection, in every single director of football selection. I see the same repetitive behaviors. And that's fine if we want to be a 5th, 6th, 7th place club. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with being a 5th, 6th, 7th place club. But what I don't like with it is the fanfare that comes with it, that this time it's different. Trust me, this time it's different. Not me. That's what people say to me. Trust me. Let me give you some examples. So there are people that believe that because we've got Ange Postecoglou, it's a reason to think differently about the club. That the guy is a messiah of sorts and that can change water into wine. Fine. If people believe that, absolutely, crack on. We heard this under Jose. Jose was, who by the way, Jose was a manager that turned water into wine. Jose was a manager that won everything in football. Conte. I heard this with Harry Redknapp, with Glenn Hoddle, with AVB, with Nuno. We do this with a lot of managers. We do this with a lot of managers that know that this manager's different. This is the manager that's going to beat the monopoly. The monopoly that we've had over Tottenham for however many years under the owners, that's going to change because this manager's different. And when I say this manager, I'm not talking about Postecoglou. I'm talking about any manager you want to put in there. This manager is different. This manager doesn't need top players to win. Let me break it to you. Every manager needs top players to win. If you're going to win consistently and it's not going to be a one, every manager needs top players. I'm not saying you have to have a 1 to 11 of world-class footballers, but every manager needs those top players, needs those leaders. I hear lots of, and some people will say to me, why do you always quote other fans? Well, the fact is we're fans. We chat, we talk, we discuss. It's interesting. Yesterday, I had a really good conversation with two Ange, real stalwart Ange fans. They were very nice. They were polite. We're having a chat. And it was this insistency that they put forward that you don't know Ange Savva. You don't know what he does at clubs. You don't know what he implements. You don't know that his second season's always much better than his first. And cool, I hope that's true. But I can't just put 2 and 2 together when there's this big gap in the middle. And what I mean by that, hopefully I haven't lost anyone there. What I mean by that is, great, over here in year 2, the manager implements something different. And in year 1, he did something different. But that massive gap in the middle is buying quality. That massive gap in the middle is getting in better players than what you've got to take you further forward on that journey. And historically, Spurs have always got to there. Like if we're saying Man City and Liverpool and Arsenal and they're here, Spurs always kind of get to there. And when those teams dip and that, we kind of stay there. They win things, then they drop. They win things, then they drop. Spurs kind of stay there, don't they? We kind of stay in and around there. And then when it comes to pouncing, and I will get some comments in a minute, by the way. When it comes to pouncing, when it comes to, you know what? We're on a good trajectory here. We're on a good path. Can we go that little bit better? Instead of spending 200 million on 8 players, can we spend the 200 million on 4 really good players that make us better? We never do. We never have. We never do. We won't this summer as well. And yet still the fan base is divided. Still you've got 50% of the people that see that and the other 50% that live in hope that it gets better. I can live with being called negative, right? I can live with being called negative because I know that when I was called negative last year for predicting Spurs to finish 5th or 6th, then when it happened, I'm vindicated. I'm not negative. It's just obvious what we are with the players that we've got. So my question is, why are we so divided? Why do we have half the fan base that seem to have accepted the reality of what we are and how we operate? And by the way, it's not 50-50, but it's just easier for me to talk in those fractions. 50% have kind of gone, this is who we are. It's not getting better. This is what we do. Versus the 50% that will tell you, oh, no, you're negative. Have faith, have trust, believe in it. The window's not shut yet. All the strap lines that come out, all the crap strap lines that I heard last summer, the window's not shut yet as we finish the summer with Williams, Valise and Brennan Johnson. How often do we have to go through the same perpetual cycle of mediocrity before we actually all jump on the same page and go, yeah, we're not really ambitious, are we? Now, let me give a few examples. I'm sure many of you saw my post yesterday. And this post for me just kind of summed up Tottenham Hotspur in a decade. It summed up where our ambitions lie. It sums up what we want to be. Now, look, I was taught growing up, I did all my coaching badges. I worked at a professional football club. I really enjoyed it. You see the ugly side of football. You see the brilliant side of football. You in that time, you get to understand that just because somebody works professionally in football doesn't necessarily mean they know more about you than football. Doesn't necessarily mean their opinion's right, but it was good. And what I did learn was this. I worked with one coach at Charlton Athletic. And at the time, he turned around and said to me, scouting's not a difficult job. He said, my job as a scout is to go, just seen a player, just seen a right winger. And you know what? He's much better than our current right winger. And this is why. This is what he brings. Right? So straight away, you've got your right winger. We just upped it to there. That's how you progress, right? That's how you progress. You look at your team and every year it's, how can I do better? And that's always been my concern for Tottenham Hotspur is that we tend to do that with one or two every summer. One or two. So last year, Van der Ven, superb signing. Right? Van der Ven, superb signing. Vicario, good goalkeeper. I wouldn't say superb signing. Van der Ven, a good goalkeeper. And I think looked better than he was because we kept Lloris for so long that Lloris had really started to deteriorate. But my point with that is it's okay to do it with one or two, but then you look round at the other, Kulu, Brennan Johnson, Valise. You look round at some of these players and you think, what are we doing? Do we have a plan? When we bought Valise, what was the plan for him? When we bought Brennan Johnson, why? Like him or don't like him? When we bought him, what was the plan? Why did we buy a guy with not really a lot of technical ability, but just pace and isn't that great at finishing? I'd love to be in that room and hear the scouts talk about with the manager and the owner as to this is what this guy brings to the table. This is where he uplifts us. I'm not talking just Brennan Johnson, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in a minute. But for me, it should be, if you sign 7 players in a window, all 7 should be better than the ones they're coming in to replace. Maybe 5, and the other 2 can be young and whatever. But we seem to go the other way, don't we? We seem to do 2 that are good, and then 5 where you go, okay, we're just getting more deadwood. Now, look, I'll caveat this as always. By the way, not angry for anyone. I'm not angry. For anyone that watches this and goes, oh, the window's not shut. Of course the window's not shut. I'll ask you this question. How wrong do you guys think I will be by the end of this window? And I'll tell you what I mean. I think Spurs will sign a very good player. I don't know who that will be. Somebody in the Eze mould. I don't think it will be Eze. I think we'll mess about with the price. I think we'll sign one very good player, which hoodwinks the entire fan base to think that we're backing the manager. I think we'll then get 2. I think we'll then get 2 players that are good, decent, probably on the same level of what we've got, probably a bit unknown, and we'll split the fan base. Then I think we will sign 3 or 4 who are young, generational, cheap, freeze. That's what I think Spurs will do. How many of you think I'll be wrong with that? And by the way, I'd love to be wrong. I want to sit here with all of you in September and go, wow, what a transfer window. I've wanted that for 20 years, 24 years under these owners. But never have we had it. Never have we had that moment where we go, let's get better. Let's not get better from here to there. Let's go for it. Let's push. Let's push. Let's stop buying Brennan Johnsons and Timo Werners. Let's go and get 2 proper wide men. 2 proper wide men out in the market. We don't tend to do that. So this is where I always have that kind of loggerheads with other fans that don't agree with that, is because I don't know what they're watching. And I get it. We want to be, and I'll say this as I always said it. I said there's YouTubers out there that just want to be liked. There's YouTubers out there that will find a reason to make every player good when they're not. There's YouTubers that will say a player's crap, but as soon as the stream turns on, it's, well, I think Spurs have done good business here because of XYZ. I just think we need to call it for what it is. Now, just quickly, when you say, Paul, we can't afford top players, why? My question is why? If we can't afford top players, why did we move stadium? Why have we been so frugal with the FFP situation if we can't afford top players? By top players, I'm not talking about Kevin De Bruyne or an Erling Haaland here, but why couldn't we afford a Cole Palmer? Not now, last year. Right? Why couldn't we afford a Diaby? Why couldn't we afford a Mohamed Kudus? Scouting. It doesn't always have to be the most expensive players for me, Paul. Scouting. And we're going to come to scouting in a minute. Let me pick a selection of comments. We'll go through and then we'll talk about scouting, because I think half the problem for me is that Daniel Levy has never implemented a proper best-in-class director of football and scouting setup. That's half the issue for me. So let's have a look. Big up to every single one of you in the chat. There is loads of you. First and foremost, very sorry to hear this. Really sorry to hear this. I hate to have my little brother passed away 2 weeks ago. He was a City fan, but he told me about your content. R.I.P. Andy Lewis. Look, I mean, that's awful news. I won't say sorry because I think people are bored of hearing sorry when someone passes away. But look, my thoughts are with you and your family. And let's hope that your brother rests in peace. And thank you for being here. And just remember the good times. That's all I can say. Remember the good times. Just remember all the good times you had with him. It is what it is. Slynell said only 2 people have more assists than Johnson in the league. He's better than Kulu. I said that at the start. And Savva laughed at me. I mean, again, people can put whatever stats they want in front of me. If you rate players like Brennan Johnson, then there's not really a lot we can do with this debate, because I watch Brennan Johnson and go, this is crap. Like, this is not what gets you better. We are used to having proper footballers at the lane, and Brennan Johnson is not one of them. I don't rate Kulu either. I mean, I think Kulu, the fact that Kulu and Johnson are your options on the right wing is real cause for concern for me. That's just me, but thank you for putting the comment in. When we say Johnson's for the future, I mean, Johnson's 24 years of age. Is he for the future? I'm not really sure. Where's our money gone, people? I keep hearing that we've got no money to spend in the window. Where's our money gone? Why have we got no money? Why are we having 1 million concerts and Super Bowls and blah, 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 whatever we're doing? And where's the money? Why isn't there money? Mazza, big up to you. As a channel member said, the hype every transfer window is incredible. Amen. Like Groundhog Day. Like believing England will always bring it home. Let's see next week when the transfer window opens how high our ambitions are. Well, the transfer window is open. But yes, Mazza, I agree with you. The hype around it every year is brilliant. And then the actual outcome of it is not. Let's have a look. Who else? We've got loads of people. Big up. I can't get to everyone's comments, but big up to you. Anna, big up. Anna, as a channel member, I said, we should have learned the mistakes from before. We made massive mistakes in our transfers. Look at the transfer we had after Bale. 1 good, 6 poor. We never learn. I agree with you. This method of signing 6, 7, 8 players a window is just clogging up the squad with average footballers. Stephen Kopp, lovely dog. I said I had an argument with a fan a couple of weeks ago with him saying, if you want a TV team that only wants to win trophies, then he said he pities me. My argument, by the way, was Levy out, Enoch out. I think one of the key things here is, I think when a lot of people say things like, oh, if you want trophies, support Chelsea, support City. Hang on, when I was growing up, Spurs won trophies. Not millions, but compared to now, it was glory-laden years. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, well, we didn't. They're 2 very different footballers. But okay. Darius, I agree. We can afford players. We just have Levy. I think this is the problem. What I'm going to go through right? What I'm going to go to is this. I'll ask a question. Big up Kate in the chat. How you doing? I hope you are well. I hope you're well. I caved. I came back. I didn't want to, Kate. And then I did. And then I'm here. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Hope you and the family are very, very well. Perchy is in the chat. He's on loan at Espanyol in Spain. Well done to Espanyol, who have just got promotion back to La Liga. I said, this club is a shambles and a disgrace. We sign crap with the odd gems here and there. English football has no standards at all. That signing average is accepted and celebrated. Vamos Espanyol. Now, let's jump on to, and I hope you, I was going to say, I hope you're well, Perchy, but we speak every day on WhatsApp. I know you are well. So big up to Perchy out there, living the dream in Spain, having a great time of things at the moment is our Perchy. Let's have a look at this, right? I'm going to ask a question. Just before I do, when we're saying, yeah, the Euros are hindering deals, but there's always some reason why deals are being hindered, right? It doesn't matter if it's the World Cup, if it's the Euros, if it's the stadium, if it's the no managers in place, this, that, the other. It's all a bit meh. I hear you. Me too. I'm very concerned at being linked with David, but hey, we've got loads of fans that like that, and it is what it is. Look, I'm gonna do some super chats, and I'm gonna ask you all the questions, see how close everyone is. Yeah, no, Stephen, I got it. Don't worry, man. Don't worry. Big up Tony, who said, good to have you back, Savva. I think we'll be let down again. Yeah, you know we'll be let down again. We always are. Let's look for some super chats. And then after that, I'm going to ask you all a question. Okay? I'm going to ask you all a question. And if you do want to guarantee your comment being read out, put in a super chat. But by no means does anyone have to do that. Jerome has been very generous and given me about 5 here. So big up, Jerome. It's very generous of you. He said, let's be real for a second here, Savva. Let's do it. Let's be real. Last season was average and a very disappointing finish. This transfer window seems there's no plan as we're again looking for a cheap deal, e.g., Timo flipping Werner. Well, look, first of all, I think the Timo Werner, I think you all know my point. The Timo Werner deal was the epitome of laziness, the epitome of no scouting, and the epitome of Tottenham Hotspur. We love a cheap deal. We love a cheap deal. Sorry, I've got a feeling somebody is at my front door. I'm just going to check to see whether it's... 1 second. Frank! Sorry, I'm just going to check to see if someone's at the front door, or if it was someone putting something through the letterbox, which always pisses off the dog. Let's have a look. He's gone. Delivery man. Jerome has gone on to say, we were looking at Tony and personal agreement accepted. Now suddenly we're distancing ourselves from Tony. So no idea what is the plan. Again, as in the title, I don't know the plan. I've never known the plan at Tottenham Hotspur. That's just me. Jerome said, no, it does not look any different from me right now. Same behaviour again and again. Only interest and no concrete bids. I think the thing that's more worrying for me, Jerome, is I'm not expecting there to have been loads of signings early on. I don't think that's how we operate as a club. I know that Postecoglou sat there and said, I want my signings done early. I just don't think it was ever going to happen. I don't think that's how we operate as a football club or a football business as we are. My worry more than anything is the players that we are linked with. It's very mediocre again. And unfortunately, if you buy mediocre, you end up being mediocre. But big up. Thank you so much for all these super chats. Cut them all from Jerome, who said, I like Ange a lot, but he cannot do anything without proper tools. And Spurs are not going to give him what he wants. I think it's the story of most managers, right? The question mark for me here is, Ange Postecoglou, the players he's signing now are better quality players than the players he would have had at Celtic. So for me, I wonder whether or not, does he think these players are capable and better because he's used to playing with worse players? I don't know is the answer. I'm not saying that's definite. I don't know. But Ange came out last year and said, I sign off all the players. No player walks through this door without my say-so. If that's true, if I'm going to believe my manager at face value, then I'm seriously worried that the Valises are coming in, the Brennan Johnsons, the Timo Werners, the Kulus. That's a huge worry for me personally, Jerome. And Jerome, the last one, has said, I don't think you're angry, and you just like us, the old fans that are still waiting for Spurs to prove us wrong, yet they have not. Oh, absolutely. I think what happens is, Jerome, and thank you so much for all those super chats, very, very generous. I think what happens, Jerome, is you get a lot of people that if they see somebody who they perceive as negative, I'm perceived as negative, even though most of my Spurs predictions come true, I'm negative. What they do is they go, oh, you're angry. I'm not angry. I'm just fed up. There's a huge difference. I've accepted the fate of Tottenham Hotspur. But what I love is the people that will try to convince you that it's changing. It's different this time. It's different. We've got a plan in place, and then you sign Timo Werner. We've got a plan in place, and then you sign Brennan Johnson. We've got a plan in place, and then you link with Jonathan David. Yeah, cool. For me to get on that train, for me to get on that happy train to believing we're getting better, it's got to be evidential. You know, we all want to live in a world, don't we, where you just say nice things and nice things happen. Unfortunately, we don't live in that world. We don't live in that world. We don't, do we? We live in a world where if you want to get better at something, you have to improve. To improve in football, you have to buy better caliber of players. You have to get better scouts, better director of football, better manager. We haven't. We've hired Aston Villa's scouting team, basically, in terms of Johan Lang and Rob McKenzie. And when I look at the majority of the 10 players they've signed, it's okay. There's some good ones. Van der Ven, brilliant. Very good player. After that, it's very... So again, is it the scouts? Is it the director of football? Is it Daniel Levy, who's the one constant? I don't know. All I know is that nothing's changing. Nothing has changed at Tottenham Hotspur. Big up, Materio. Hope you're well, my friend. I said, nothing has changed. The only way I'm wrong about that is if we have a 5-year plan, but we haven't. Ange will never be around like that. Yeah, I agree. I agree. What we're trying to do is 6 or 7 new players every window, rather than 3 or 4 really, really good ones. Add 3 or 4 good ones that make the team better, sell 3 or 4 to Deadwood, repeat again. But we don't. And what I love, I know the moment this stream ends, I can predict the comments I'm going to get from, and I can predict who they're going to come from. And all I'll say is thank you to anyone that does comment, yeah, and actually talks football. I love it. I'm more than happy. Disagree with me, but talk football. Just say, Sav, I think you're wrong on this because of X, Y, Z. It's not difficult, is it? Rather than, oh, you're so negative. You're not a real Spurs fan. 41 years of supporting this club, and it's just gone like that. People think Eze is better than what we have. I don't think people think Eze is better than what we have. I think people know Eze is better than what we have. Overwhelmingly better than what we have is Eberechi Eze. Yeah. But again, it's that sort of comment that worries me, Slino. It's that comment that worries me, is that we have fans like you that think Eze isn't better than what we've got, which makes me think, what do you think of our players? What do you think? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and Roddy has hit the nail on the head. Yes, Eze is better than Werner, Johnson, Kulus. Yes, Eze is better than any of those options. Plus, you've got to remember, Son is getting older. He's going to go that way. You can see it in his game. Yes, he's going to score some goals, but his all-round game, you can already see is going like that. That happens with age. So, yes, Eze is miles better than what we've got. So I'm really, really concerned when people say things like that. If only someone had told me this back in the 80s when I started supporting Tottenham. Look, it is what it is. I'm going to ask a question. Okay, I'm going to say Johan Lang joined Tottenham in October 2000. Sorry, let me start that again. Lang joined Tottenham October 2023, so he was not involved in the signings last summer. Okay, So whether it was Lang, McKenzie was here. He's then gone on. Johan Lang has signed Timo Werner twice. Just saying, he signed Timo Werner twice. That's enough for me. That's enough for me. So I'm going to ask the question. How much money do you think in pounds, Tottenham have spent in the Ange Postecoglou tenure? We've signed 10 players. 10 players we've signed in 2 windows so far. Okay? Or the third window just opening, right? How much do you think? Let's see who can get it closest to the pound, right? So how much in sterling, not in euros? 10 players, right? God, I'm going to have to try and remember these 10 players. So you've got Bergvall. You got Bergvall, Ashley Phillips, Valise, Solomon, Kulu, Brennan Johnson, Maddison, Vicario, Van der Ven, and Dragushin. Right? How much do you think? Right? 10 players. And this is almost to stick up to the point of Daniel Levy does spend, by the way. It's not to say that he doesn't spend money. This is more to the point of the plan, because I think there's a huge difference, right? I will never, ever disagree with anybody that says, but Daniel Levy does spend. I'll never disagree with that, because he does. The question behind my reasoning is, cool, you spend, but was it planned? Was it spent well? So let's have a look at some of these numbers that are coming in, right? I'm hanging on. By the way, I'm growing my hair at the moment, so I'm going through this horrible, fluffy stage. Please ignore me. I promise this time next week, I will be in Menorca tanning and I'll look much better. I promise. Right, we've got... big up, Angus. Lovely to hear that news, my friend. Really glad to hear that, because last time we spoke, I think, your dad was in and out of hospital. And I know that you were finding it tough to deal with that situation, understandably. So I'm really pleased for you. Hate the fact that you support Arsenal, but really pleased for you, and more pleased for your father. So really happy with that, Angus. Big up, mate, and welcome back. 200 million. 90. Just what we spent on players. I'm not going to work out, ins versus outs. Just what we spent. 90 to 150, 250, 240, 165, 250, 200, 162, 230, 180, 272. Go on then, mate. Sorry, the dog wants to go out. Go on. That's Stewie, for anyone who remembers him. Net 40 million. Rich has gone with 160. Kate has gone with 175. Might be 210. 360. It's not 300. It's not that high. This I agree with. We'll come back to that in a minute. 130, says Anna. 160, but staggered payments. Right. Tottenham Hotspur, on those 10 signings, have spent £237 million. Give or take the exchange rate, 237. So anyone who was in between 230, 240, yes, we're in that range. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but that works out on average roughly £23 million per player, right? Roughly. My concern is that we've bought those 10 players at a cost of 237 million. Then when you say to people, how does Ange change it up? How do we make it better? You hear, well, he needs to get his own players in. Well, a lot of those players were actually not expensive in football terms, but were actually quite pricey and were his signings. So if you look at the 55 million euros was spent on Brennan Johnson, his player. 46 million was spent on Van der Ven, his player. You then look at the money that was spent on Kulu. He signed it off. People will say, oh, he was here before. He signed it off. It wasn't an obligation. He signed that off. That was another 40 million. So my worry is, again, I look at those 10 players and you go, what's the plan? Because of those 10 players, how many of them realistically improved us? Vicario, because we had an aging goalkeeper. Van der Ven and Maddison when he's on form. So that means of those 10, The other 7, and it's only me. Other people will fight and argue for the others. We could talk about Dragoshin, but unfortunately, we've not really seen him play. We could talk about Bergvall, but he's another kid that we've not seen play. So my question is, are we going to do that again this summer? Are we going to spend another 200? I know we're going to get money back for players. So people go, it's not 237 million, but I'm just talking about what we've gone out and spent. Are we going to do that again this summer, guys and girls? Are we going to go out this summer and sign another 7 or 8 players, of which you get to the end of the year and go, well, only a couple of them worked out? Because, don't get me wrong, I don't expect 10 signings to work out in a row. I don't. Of course I don't. But you'd like 50-50. You'd like 60-40, wouldn't you? You'd like to think that there was a plan. And I'm looking at it going, I don't know why half of those were signed. I don't know who looked at some of these players and went, that's in line with what Ange wants. That's in line with where we want to be as a player. Right? I don't know what this is the answer to. What does this mean? Sorry. For Romero, Van Empire, Dougie, Sal, Madison. I don't know what's... big up video software. What's that in response to, my friend? And we can talk about it. Again, we sign Kulu and people go, good player. This guy can do this. But when you actually watch in reality, there's no real reward from his game. Same with Brennan Johnson. Solomon on a free. Again, it feels like a waste of a signing. Valise at 15 million. I'm not sure who scouted him, but then every time I've watched him, never really been impressed with anything he does at all. So who is watching this? When we say Dragoshin has been impressive, when's he played for Tottenham to make that judgment? That's what I mean. Listen, he was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant for Romania in game 1. In game 2, I thought he got absolutely found out. So again, it swings and roundabouts. But if we're going to say he's been impressive, in a Spurs shirt, we've seen such little of him. And again, if he was brought in, what was the plan? He was brought in, not used by the manager. I don't know what we're doing. And that's the key thing for me. I'd love to be a fly on the wall of the Tottenham recruitment meetings with Levy, Paratici, Lang, McKenzie, Scott Munn, if he's there, Postecoglou. I'd love to know, what are they discussing? Why has nobody at any point gone, you can't bring in Brennan Johnson, he just doesn't take us to the next level? Somebody in that room, when I say somebody, the majority of in that room have agreed on that. They've agreed that this is our signing. So again, I take it back to the title. What's the plan? What's the plan? Revenite said Kulu, Johnson, Werner, Solomon, Valise. Not good enough. Well, let's have a look at this, shall we? Let's have a look at this. So I put out, yeah, you were, Foxy, you did. Foxy, hats off to you, you did. I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know anything about this guy, but Foxy, hats off. You were absolutely spot on last year when you said, you know, people were talking about him like, oh, he's like Alvarez. But I watch him. He looks very limited in his movement. I don't know. I don't really see anything. He's young. Of course, he's young. But couldn't that 15 million have gone elsewhere? Couldn't that 15 million have been added on to the 50 we paid for Brennan Johnson and get a proper, better player? Let's have a look. Clinton Baptiste has said data-driven now. Sign Werner, an attacker who can't shoot. We're in good hands. Trust the process. Well, this is the worry. When people say it's all done on data now, what data? What data suggested that Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner were what we need? Good point, Kate. Not going to get money back on most of them. So here, right? Big up to each and every one of you. Big up to my man, Martin Knightsbridge, who's become a member again. Big up to you. Thanks for your WhatsApp the other day, Martin. Much love for you. And I really appreciate your support as always. Let's have a look. By the way, please like, please subscribe if you haven't already. I won't ask loads, but if you haven't, please do, as we try and get these numbers back up to where they were. We lost about 500 or 600 in the shake-up of things. So please, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. And please do like the show. It does help. I don't know how much. I feel like we all say it. There's over 270 of you in here and only 94 likes. Let's get that to 150 as quickly as possible. And to be guaranteed for your message to be read out, please put in a super chat. If you can't or don't want to, you don't have to. Not a problem. Ash, big up to you, my man. I said Tim Vickery, who is a South American expert, said Valise would flop, struggle on Sky Sports. How can't our recruitment team see that? This is the worry. This is the worry, Ash. How are we looking at these players that everyone else is going, and we're signing them? Now, I'm going to move on to Slynell. But when are you going to question Ange's ability? I mean, I don't know if you saw my video yesterday or the day before when I completely spent the whole 20 minutes questioning Ange's ability and whether or not he needs to change the tactics. So you might want to watch that video. I've not blamed everything on Levy. I think there's many problems at the club. I don't think the manager's good enough. I don't think the owners have ambition. And so far, I'm really not enamored with our new scouting director of football setup. I can't disagree with this more. Romero is nowhere near, for me, one of the best centre-backs in world football. Again, I don't know what this is judged on. I think he's a good centre-back. But when we're going to talk about one of the best in the world, I'm sorry. I thought that he was made to look better by Van der Ven last season, who got him out of trouble a lot. Just my opinion. Right, let's have a look. Before we do, Kevin K has said, is Paratici still working with Spurs behind the scenes? I think fans gave him way too much stick. Bentancur, Udogie, Romero, Vicario, Kulu. Well, Bentancur hasn't done anything for a long time and the jury's out on him. Kulu, I don't think is great. Udogie, we've brought him in and he's being played in the wrong position. Vicario's a good goalkeeper and Romero's a good centre-half. I think when we use the word quality signings, if all of those were quality, we wouldn't have struggled in letting as many goals as we did last year. We simply wouldn't. You've named 3 of the back 5 that let in 63 goals or 62 goals, whatever it was. You've named the kind of holding midfielder Bentancur. I'm not really sure. And this is what worries me. We seem to think that these are quality players. If these are quality players, we're not 23 points off the top. Sorry, 25 points off the top. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. When you say, how is Vicario a good goal? I think he's a good goalkeeper. I don't think he's brilliant. I don't think he's anything special. I think he's a good goalkeeper. But again, I think this is what we do. We're so starved of success. We're so starved of quality that when we get a player who's slightly better than what we had, we go, oh my God, he's brilliant. Like that chap there. Saying that Romero is world class. I mean, that's mental for me. World class. World class is Virgil van Dijk. That's world class. World class is Virgil van Dijk. You watch him play for the Netherlands this tournament. He is solid as a rock. That's world class. Not Romero. Romero's a good centre-half. Yeah, he's a good centre-half. Does this mean then that every time Real Madrid sign a player, it means they're world class? Does it? I'm not really sure it does. But hey, each to their own. If you think he's world class, fine. I agree. Again, brought a player in and given him too much work to do. Let's have a look at our forwards. Let's have a look at our forwards. Now, what I mean by this. I put out a post last night talking about our scouting. Okay? Talking about our scouting. And one thing for me, I always think we get 1 or 2 okay in defence, 1 or 2 okay in midfield. Nothing special, but we seem to be awful in the attacking third when we're sliding players. And I'm going to show you why. And thank you to the person who just subscribed. By the way, Jessica, I don't think this is true. I think when Spurs stop signing average players, we'll stop complaining. I think this is the problem. We signed too many average footballers. Have a look at this. Okay. Spurs signed Heung-min Son 9 seasons ago. Okay. So at the time, you had Harry Kane, who come through the youth team, and we signed Son from Germany. Since then, these are the 18 forwards that we have signed. 18. So on average, we're doing 2 a season. I know it doesn't always work like that, but on average, 2 a season. This is the caliber that this club has bought in the last decade up front. Now, whether that's a striker or a wide forward, whatever, in that front line, this is what we've bought. Now, I'm going to give you a few seconds to breathe that in. Breathe that in. Valise, Hill, Solomon, Kulu, Johnson, Werner twice, Nkudu, Nji, Richarlison, Danjuma, Bergwijn, Vinicius, Janssen, Llorente, Lucas Moura, an injured old Gareth Bale on loan, Jack Clark, and an old Perisic. Let that sink in. Now, the reason I've put that up is when people tell me the window's not shut, you don't know what we're going to do. Well, I'm looking at the evidence. I'm looking at the forward lines at the moment. I'm looking at anyone in the forward lines, right? This is what, for the last decade, when I've heard the summer hasn't finished yet. The summer hasn't finished yet. You don't know what we're going to get. We're going to get an exciting attacker, an exciting forward. This here, this is what we've got. Now, let that sink in. The next time somebody has a go at you or me and says, oh, you're negative. Oh, we sign good players. Oh, the recruitment team know what they're doing. Oh, we sign it on data. Oh, I looked on a scouting tool. Oh, I looked at YouTube. I've seen that he got 8 assists last season. Look at this. Look at this. Now, there's a few in there who are okay, right? Bergwijn, you might argue, didn't really get a chance, but when I watched Bergwijn, there was nothing really there. Danjuma, pointless loan, didn't get a game. Jack Clark, why? Perisic, I don't know, we signed him, he looked old and not bothered. Lucas Moura stayed with us forever. Apart from the Champions League hat-trick, what did he really ever do? Llorente, meh. Janssen's awful. Vinicius, awful. Richarlison, Nkudu, Werner twice. Kulu, Johnson, Solomon, Hill, Valise. So the next time someone's having a go at you and they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes as to how well Paratici did, to how well Steve Hitchin did, and the scouting team now, this is not an opinion. This is factually what Tottenham have bought in the last 9 seasons in forward areas. These are the players that Tottenham Hotspur have looked at and said, these players will make us better. These players will take us to the next level. And now you're seeing it more because Kane's gone. Because Kane's gone now, you used to have Kane's son and another. So you got away with it. You had Kane and Son that always did their thing, and then another. So it didn't really matter. You'd go, oh, Bergwijn's playing with Kane and Son today. Oh, Moura's playing with Kane and Son today. Oh, Kulu's playing with Kane and Son today. But now you've got to the stage where only one of those is here and slowly declining. I'm not knocking him. It's an age thing. It's natural. Now that you haven't got the world-class Kane there, what you're seeing is the caliber you're left with. Now, obviously, they're not all still there. But let's have a look at how many of them are still there. Valise, Hill, Solomon, Kulu, Johnson, Werner, Richarlison. 7 of those 18 make up our forwards. 7. I'm going to just quickly talk to this Ashley guy in the chat. Ashley, you're going by 1 year that we finished. You're going from the 1 year before where we finished 8th with Kane in the team, forgetting the years where we finished 2nd with Kane, 3rd with Kane, 4th with Kane, right? So this is a falsehood. Again, guys, come on, it's rationale, right? It's rationale. I'm not talking about one season here. Yeah, I'm talking about this is the group of players we signed. Now, I was tempted to sit there last night and do it for the defenders and the midfielders, but I just thought, what's the point? There's been some good, I'm not knocking, there's some good signings in and amongst there. Some good signings that I don't think fit what we're trying to do, but hey, we got them. Ashley, you got to stop though. Ashley, you're talking about something different to what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the 9 years of our recruitment team. You've got to listen, mate. You've got to listen. I'm not talking about one season, right? I'm talking about this is where our ambitions lie. Now, in the last 9 seasons, don't forget 5 of those have been at the new stadium. 5 of those have been since we moved stadiums. So more than 50%. More than 50% of that has been since we were getting bigger and better revenue. And yet the standard of players seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. Spurs used to sign forward players like Kane, Defoe, Les Ferdinand, Teddy Sheringham, Canute. Canute, good player, by the way. Canute. Even Darren Bent at the time was a 20, 25 goal a season striker. Pavlyuchenko's even better than this lot. Now, this is what we're doing. We used to have wingers like Bale, like Lennon, like Ginola. Now, this is what we buy. So, when people want to tell you you're negative, I'll fight for the negative ones in us. When people want to tell you you're negative, when people say, just get behind the club, trust the process. This, for me, I didn't realize just how bad it was going to be. Lee, I think you've just joined. Bale is in that list because he's one of the 9 we bought. He's one of the 18 that we've signed in the 9 years since we signed Son. And that was Bale on loan. We're not talking about Gareth Bale before. Right? When I started doing that, I'd forgot some of those players and I just didn't realise just how bad it was going to be. And then I looked at that and went, whatever scouting team we've got, these players are all either under Hitchin and his scouting team, Paratici and his scouting team, or Johan Lang and his scouting team. So this is 3 different directors of football, 3 different sets of scouts, numerous different managers. I think this 9 fall under Poch, Jose, Nuno, Conte, Postecoglou. So 3 directors of football, 3 different scouting teams, 5 different managers, but this is still what we're getting. This is still what we're getting. Everybody in this chat, I'm sure, like me, was saying, right, I'll take this down now. I think everyone's seen that enough. Everyone like me was saying in the last season, we've got to sort that forward line out. You've got to, 2 or 3. And then when you see the first signing coming through the door is Timo Werner, you go, all right, well, that's one position wasted. That's one position clogged up now because you can only have X amount of players in your squad. Then you see links with Jonathan David and you go, okay, he's all right. I don't mind Jonathan David. But again, it is what it is. This Ashley guy, you've got to stop. This is getting weird now. Why has Kane come out and don't want to be criticised? Who is he to say that like he has done? I don't know what you're talking about there. And I knew Spurs would finish high without Kane. I think we all knew Spurs were going to finish high last year because we bought in Mickey van der Ven. We bought in a new goalkeeper and we didn't play with 10 men behind the ball. I don't think it's any big achievement what we did last year. So look, for me, people can view it as negative, but I view it as ambition. I want Spurs to show some form of ambition. I want Spurs to show that we've done our due diligence, we've done our homework, that we've gone and got a player that you go, yeah. And when I say yeah, I mean a player that every single one of us in this chat goes, like him, that's a good signing. It's like, for example, I've seen no one say, apart from that Sly Nell, I've seen no one say that they overwhelmingly think Eze is better than what we've got. Eze would be a top signing, right? Go and get him. Go and get another one. Go and get some players that get us off our seats. Go and get some exciting players. Go and get players that don't look like that list there. I just want to say this is completely false. Anyone who watched me last season said I thought Spurs would finish 5th or 6th, just so we know. I agree, Ash, I agree. I agree we can forget Eze because somebody who's meant to be our top target, we don't have the ambition to go, there's 50 million up front. We don't have that. So, look, what's the plan? Why are we so divided? I'll tell you what, let's do a little experiment. Everyone in the chat, and I think, can we all agree, right? We are divided as a fan base. We are definitely divided as a fan base. Just give me, in less than 10 words, why are we divided as a fan base? Why? Cheers, Ron. I did all season. Why? Give me a sentence. Why are we all so divided? If it's as bad as some of us think, why don't we all think that? If it's as good as the other half think, why don't we all think that? Why is there this line cut between what people like and what people don't? I go on to watch shows where I see people talking about the transfers we've made, and they're talking about them like we're Man City. I go and watching fans talking about finances and stadiums and economy and ownership. We're football fans. We're bloody football fans. We want our team to win things. We want our team to try and win things. I don't expect Tottenham Hotspur to win a trophy every single season. Of course not. Do I expect Tottenham to have more than one trophy in 24 years? Damn right I do. This is the worst trophy drought in 100 years for Tottenham Hotspur. The actual average league position for the 20 years before ENIC and the 20 years with ENIC is very similar. They're both like 6th or 7th. So that hasn't really changed. When people go, oh, look, Levy's moved us up. No, what it means is for a few years before Levy took over, we had a bit of a drop where we were finishing 10th, 11th, 12th, right? But the actual 20 years beforehand, it was very similar. AJ, I wasn't saying these things 2 years ago, mate. I've been saying these things for nearly 20 years. This is the same thing every year, mate. I want to come on here. I want to. I promise you. I really do, AJ. I want to come on here and go, look at those 2 signings. Wow. Look at those 2, 3, 4 signings. But we don't. The same fans now, the same very fans, the same very pundits that were telling us, be patient. You need the new stadium to compete. Are the same ones now making excuse after excuse after excuse as to why we're still buying average footballers? It doesn't make sense. Let's have a look and see what some of these comments say. And then I'll get some super chats. Where are we? Robert Tommaso has said, there's only one plan. If that doesn't work, we will use the same plan. Paul said, I want 4 quality signings this window. The rest can be made up from youth. I agree. 4 players, Paul. I think we're in agreement in this one, mate. 4 players that you drop into that first team that elevate us from there to there. Yeah, that are that much better than the 4 they overtook. That's what I think we need. Where are we? Okay. The limited of Spurs. Some have ambition and some don't. Fans buy into the BS. Hope v realism. Have to laugh looking at Gallagher and Eze and now saying there is no money. I agree. No trophies. Some have ambition, some don't. Simple. Because of Levy, realists versus the hopefuls. I like to think of it like that. You know, when we're considered positive and negative, that's what I think it is. I think you have, I don't really, every now and then I slip the word happy clapper in and I shouldn't, it's wrong. But I like to think that it's more, you have realist fans. I like to consider myself a realist fan. And I know I'm a realist fan because my predictions every year aren't that wrong in terms of where we're going to finish, what we're going to sign, right? And then you get the hopefuls, we're just going to win. It doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter if there's any evidence. We're just going to win. And there's nothing wrong with that, but this is very true. Clement said, we are divided. Gary says, some people don't see the foolish decisions we make. Gov, quite simply, has said, Levy, no trophy, no future vision. Potsy Pat, Posty Pat, I'll get there in the end, has said, fans don't have the bollocks to stand up to the ownership. Too many happy clappers being manipulated by the PR of the club. I definitely think there's a lot to do with manipulation and PR. Hollywood Phil says, real fans question what is going on. If we made it unacceptable, then we should have something to say, but they are bought into the crap spiel from the board. Big up Adakunle has said, lack of honesty. See, lots of different answers, but all kind of point to the same thing, right? Ange will leave if he don't get what he is promised. How do we know what is promised? Ange told us he signs off on every signing and is bringing in players like Werner and Johnson. So how do we know? Solo Bolo has said, as an Arsenal fan looking in, it looks like a lot of your fans have been desensitized to mediocrity. Love that. Desensitized to mediocrity. Love that. I don't think most of your fans care about winning. Agreed. We have fans that say winning isn't important and trophies aren't the metric of that success. That's crazy to me. Hollywood real fans question what is going on. Sorry, I've done that one. Overestimate the abilities of your manager and players. When these opinions are shared, it causes division. True. It's very much like that in our fan base, right? If you turn around and say you don't rate a player, it is you're negative. It is, give him a few years. It's like, oh God, like Brennan Johnson. He's not a kid. Brennan Johnson is a seasoned Premier League international footballer, but it's give him a few years, he'll come good. Pharaoh27 said, I want to applaud you, Savva. You are one of the YouTubers who never uses the word value when discussing possible signings. Look, I just want the better players for my football club. Ash said everyone was gassed at Maddison. He flopped. I've got a very... when we say Maddison flopped, for me, I think the manager's tactics completely ruin what James Maddison is. Same with Porro and Udogie. I think he completely ruins what James Maddison is, what he needs. Everyone inverts into that attacking midfield area. And James Maddison, you can see, is looking up saying, move, go away, let me create. So I think James Maddison's a very good footballer, not being utilised. Dom said we're divided by the years of underperformance and false dawns. Because we have Muppets to spend money that would cripple the club. I don't know what that means. Why would Spurs be crippled in any way, shape or form? We are so rich. We are so rich. When you say things like this, I don't really think you're thinking, but cool. Ashley, we get it. You don't like Harry Kane. We get it. We get it. Dude, calm down. You don't like Harry Kane. You're not going to get any love for that comment in this chat. Harry Kane was one of the greatest strikers that played the game. You've got to stop. Video complete. I said West Ham signed Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta, and they're all better than what we have, Savva. West Ham have... Look, I find it embarrassing when I look at West Ham's front three and I look at ours. I do. I really, really do. Big up, Robert. Big up. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Nice of you to say. Angus said, Sav, what's your thoughts on if sign either Gyökeres or Osimhen? Do you think we can win the league with either of them? Yeah, you could. You could. I'll be interested to see how you adapt and change with one of them. You could. Yeah, definitely. Do I think you will? We'll see. We'll see. But listen, Arsenal were very good last year, Angus. You were a lot closer than I thought. But look, I think you're making some sensible signings. So let's see what you do with your next one. And you know, it is what it is. Tony, I get this every year. Why not do this after the window is shut? I get this every year because every window's the same, Tony. Every window is the same. I had comments like this all last summer. Wait till it's shut. Wait till it's shut. And then I see Brennan Johnson come in on the last day. Yeah, I don't need to wait till it's shut. I have 24 years of history and evidence on my side. Where have you been? Listen, I went away 3 months. I'm glad I did. Got a lot of stuff sorted. And then decided to come back, which a lot of people seem to really want to hate me for. But a lot of people have shown love as well. So thank you for that. Yes, of course I do. Of course I do. Yeah, they're all yes men, aren't they? They're all yes men. Where are we? Clement has said, Savva, it's the supporters trust. They decide us. Yes, I think Maddison would be much better at Newcastle, where they don't invert every single player into the middle of the pitch. When you watch James Maddison at Leicester and you looked at the numbers he got, they didn't clog the pitch. They had 2 wide men that went really wide to give him options. They had a centre forward who made runs and 2 midfielders behind him. He was the number 10 on his own. Spurs invert Porro and Udogie in there. We invert the 2 wide players in there as well. There's too many cooks in that kitchen. If you play a number 10, give him the license to roam. Give him the space needed. Jerome said, why? Simple. You have fans that are way too positive about their views. They screaming winning the league in October. Then you have neutral ones that know they're supporting Spurs. Look, Jerome, I think, look, we all know last year was very funny. Very, very funny. The number of people talking about winning titles. It was crazy. And when people say that's just my opinion, that's not an opinion, is it? That is delusion. I'll say it. I'll get called out for saying that. It is. No one, honestly, as an adult human being, thought Tottenham were winning that league. It is what it is. Ash, big up. I said, why doesn't Kane drop deep for Bayern then, Ashley? How did he score 40-odd goals playing the 6 for Bayern? Wake up. Amen. Amen. Put in your place. Rodney, I said, only the defence and goalkeeper, we are above West Ham. I agree. When I look at some of their midfielders, I would definitely take in our midfield. Definitely. And their forward line, I would definitely take. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. Big up Swanex. How you doing, my man? What's my thoughts on Szymanski? Yeah, he's good. He's decent. I don't know if it's that next level up. For me, a player like this should be signed when you've got a really good 11 and you're looking to build out the squad. For me, this shouldn't be the signing that you put straight in to make you better, but a good footballer. Big up, Rodney. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Look, lots of comments, some positive, some in a more positive light, some in a more realistic light. It is what it is. I'm really enjoying this show. Wesley says, Savva, you were one of them last season. One of what, Wesley? Let me know what I was one of. What, a human? A Spurs fan? Let me know what I was one of. Savva, how long do you give Ange next season before you get the boot? Look, I don't know. I don't know. If he starts the season how we finished the season, he's not going to last long because it was terrible. I don't know. It depends. How frustrated does he get? Are these his signings? Are any of these his signings? Is he frustrated? I don't know. Because if these are his signings, then he has to live and die by the sword. If these are not his signings, I feel sorry for him. But we'll see. Farrow, I said, where do you predict Spurs will finish on the last day of next season? Man U and Chavs will not want to finish so low next season. Look, obviously we're going to sign players. I want to see what we do. But knowing our track record, I would say that we will finish between 5th and 7th. We're going to have 2 games a week with Europe. I don't think we coped really well with 1 game a week. I don't think we've got enough quality in the squad. And you've got to look, Newcastle won't have Europe. Chelsea and Man United surely won't be as bad as last year. So, yeah, I think it'll be roughly 5th, 6th, 7th. I reckon we'll be in that little group that is fighting for Europa League. Yeah, I'll have guests on as and when. But I only want guests to add something, right? I don't want I don't want silliness. I want guests that want to actually have a football conversation and a debate. Ashley, oh God, he's still going. Phil said, don't worry though. The fans who said Spurs are winning the league are 75% positive. Personally, I'll be looking to call the main white coats. This is interesting, Philly, because this is football tribalism for you. Yep, this is football tribalism for you. If you just come out with ridiculous statements like Spurs are going to win the league, you are considered to be a positive fan, yeah, who backs the club. If you're a fan like me who says, I think we're going to finish 5th or 6th, which is what happened, I'm negative. If a fan like me doesn't rate Werner and Johnson, I'm negative. If you rate them, you're a positive fan. For me, it's all crazy. Facts prove everything. Yeah? Spurs did exactly what I thought Spurs would do last year. Exactly what I thought they'd do last year. But, hey, it is what it is. Big up to my man, Roms. How you doing, bro? Nice to see you. Really, really, really nice to see you. I hope you're well. One of the good guys of YouTube. Somebody else has asked if I'll be doing panel shows. I might do. I find panel shows really frustrating, and I find it all too tribalistic again. If we're talking panel shows with just Spurs fans, sure. But if we're talking panel shows with fans from other clubs, I find it a bit pointless. The Arsenal fan will just say everything brilliant about Arsenal. The Spurs fan will just say everything brilliant about Spurs. Chelsea, blah, blah, blah. That's what happens. For me, there's not enough realism on YouTube. There's not enough people that actually talk with facts and remove that badge that they wear. That for me is the frustrating thing. Yeah, agreed, Dom. I mean, not the best ever player, but agreed. I don't know how any Spurs fan can. That's why that actually can't be a Spurs fan, can he? I really don't think he can. The Rude Boy Sound, big up my friend. How you doing? I think is this Paul? Is this you, Paul? It's a great system. Poor tactics, especially over inverting of the fullbacks. I can't stand the inverted fullbacks. If you're going to invert one, maybe. Don't invert both. I think you and I had the conversation the other day about this. I really, really, really don't think this formation gets the best out of anybody. We talked about this yesterday, especially Porro and Udogie, for me, are being wasted. They are superb wing-backs that go on the outside, beat men, get crosses in and score goals. And we're playing them as central midfielders. Feels a real waste to me. Ashley, I'm going to ask you nicely, please calm down. It's boring now. Every single comment is about Kane. Calm down. Just calm down. Can we afford? I don't think so. I think if you had, here you go. I'll say this. I think if you had James Maddison on the Poch, where Poch played Ericsson, or Harry Redknapp, for example, they would get the best out of James Maddison. I think he's being absolutely stifled. I think the two wing backs are. I think the two centre backs are. I think the playmaker is. Sonny doesn't suit centre forward in this. I think all of these really good players are being made to be a bit of a scapegoat for the tactics. That's just me. Look at that either way. Either look at it that I'm negative on the manager or that I'm praising some of those players. So, for example, when people are saying, oh, my God, Porro didn't go to the Euros with Italy, with Spain. Well, why would he? Why would he? Look how the two fullbacks have played. Look how the two right-backs have played so far in this tournament for Spain. They're getting down that channel, whipping balls in, pulling balls back. Watch how Porro plays for Spurs. He's inverted. He's inverted the whole time. Just saying. Jonas said Brennan Johnson has the same output as Eze and Elise, 15 goal assists. I mean, I think the worrying thing for me is if we're really going to compare these players, if we're really going to compare these players, then I truly... Frank! Calm down. If we're really going to compare these players, then I truly worry. There should be no conversation of putting a Brennan Johnson anywhere near an Elise or an Eze. Nowhere near it. And let's have a look. Let's have a look at your stats. Let's see. Okay, so if we look at who we're looking at, if we look at Eze, All right, Eberiche Eze. He only played 27 games. He only played 27 of the games, Eberiche Eze. Yeah? Elise. Michael Elise only played 19 games and got 16 goal contributions. So when you actually work it out, no, Brennan Johnson didn't get the same level. He didn't on average. Let's have a look at Brennan Johnson. I can't believe how many people like Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson played more games than those guys, right? I just can't see how anyone. Again, Jonas, we can keep people like Brennan Johnson. We're just not going to get better. Unfortunately, that's what it comes down to. Big up, Foxy. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate that. Big up to you as well, Wesley. Big up to you. My opinion doesn't... Oh, right, okay. Should we just block this, Ashley? It's getting boring now. Ashley, look, I'll give you a chance. We've all heard your opinion. You would rather Richarlison than Kane. We got it. Every comment now doesn't need to be about Richarlison versus Harry Kane. We get it. You prefer the worst player of the two. Okay? Any more, and I will just block it because now it's starting to become spam. Doma said, wasn't delusional, it's dreaming. And to be honest, you have to dream to be a Spurs fan. Again, Dom, I'll call it for what it is. It is delusional. It is delusional. If any of you looked at that Spurs squad last year and said, we are winning a title, then there's something not right. There's something massively not right. I hear this all the time. Dream, just dream. I don't dream because we're better. We're not as good as Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City. Did you really think we were going to finish above Man City or Arsenal or Liverpool? Come on. It just doesn't work. Right, Ashley, last chance. You're going, mate. I'm putting you into a timeout because you are really now starting to annoy everybody. Savva, what is your opinion of the rumoured link with Carlos Alcaraz, the Argentina football now, not the Spanish tennis player? Yeah, the guy who went on loan from Southampton to Juve. He's okay. Yeah, he's okay. Again, I don't see it as a step up. And again, there's a lot of players who are okay that are okay to sign, but are they a step up? And if you're not stepping up, what are we doing here? Who else have we got here? Big up, Higgery. Thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words. We said Ange will need more than one window. But what does that mean? We hear this about every manager, Dom. He'll need more than one window. It doesn't matter if every window is the same. He'll need more than one quality window, but we need to have some quality windows. Officially uncensored, big up to you. I said Ange is a weird one. Clearly a good coach, but poor when it comes to defensive organisation. Agreed. Especially when it comes to set pieces. But I don't rate the squad, and your board is poisonous. I agree with all of that. Yeah, you've got to laugh. Yeah, striker. Sometimes you just have to laugh. Ashley said Brennan Johnson taps him in at the back post. His GA makes him look better than he is. His overall game is shocking. I mean, as a winger, I don't ever see him beat a man with a bit of skill or trickery. You know, but that's just me. Rodney has said, look at the quality of opposition and the results in the games scored. Yeah. Ben Kaufman, where have you been all my life? How are you, sir? I said, YouTube is fantastic for letting me look at previous messages sent from old shows. Agreed, Ash. Agreed. This is what I mean. When we're looking at people like Alcaraz, he's okay. He's an okay footballer, neat, tidy, but does he move the dial? We've got loads of those. Yes, I like Calafiori. I do. I really like him, which tells me we won't sign him. Savva, what is your opinion on Ange saying we don't need a set-piece coach, considering we're letting 16 goals? Yeah, absolute crazy talk. Absolute crazy talk. Everyone needs a set-piece coach, and we were terrible at defending them last year. So I think it's crazy, Paul. What do you think? Look, each to their own, man. I watch him play. I don't see anything about. I see nothing about him that tells me he's a good player. Nothing about him. I think his football intelligence, his touch, his control, everything. He just look again. He's great if you want to finish 5th to 8th. You want to get better, you need better players. But that's just my opinion. Dom said, last part of the season, we didn't have an on-form Maddison and Bassoon wasn't the same. Cool. That's the manager's job to get that sorted. That's the manager's job to get tactics to get the best out of them. For me, there's two good midfielders there, both being played wrong. That's just my opinion. I know there are so many people that just can't critique anything Ange does. But for me, I don't think he's getting the best out of what we've got. Slappy Jack has said to make him a mod. We can make you a mod, Slappy Jack. I trust you. Let me know if you would like to be a mod on the channel. I'm trying to get more mods this time around to make sure that we have less trolls. When are they sorting out Ange's assistant manager? Let's be honest. Who here thinks Ryan Mason's getting this gig? And again, that sums up Tottenham, right? It will be Ryan Mason. It's the internet. Who's crying? See, it's words like this. No one's crying because we don't want. What we don't want is we don't want spam. I'm all for that guy putting his opinion across that he thinks Richarlison's better than Kane, but every comment for the last 40 comments he's made has been the same thing. Musings of a football fan has said we could have 10 windows. Unless the leadership behind the manager is aligned, then we always sign value or squad players. Maybe earth one gem every 10 players like a Son, Kane, Bale, then sell on. Bang on the money. Bang on the money. Bang on the money. We can talk about giving managers 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Unless we start having quality transfer windows, you can give them 100 years. It doesn't matter. Cash said, we left the race for Jimenez and Tony and we're going for David. This club's finished. It is just a little underwhelming. It's a little underwhelming, isn't it? Listen, I don't mind Jonathan David. I think for me, if he was your third choice striker, second choice, cool. I think he'll come in, get 10 to 15 goals. I don't think he adds really a lot to what we've got. Just my opinion. Yogi Bear. It's the sort of thing Daniel Levy does. Don't rule this out in the future. This is the sort of thing he does. Hang on, I'm just trying to make somebody, where is he? Unofficially censored. I'll be a mod. Yeah, you can be a mod. I like you. I'll make people a mod if I trust them, by the way. Big up Sakinelli. He said, good to see you back, Savva. Hope you're well. You just randomly popped up on my feed. I had to double check. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Cash said, Ange's talent idea is horrible. So far, I think most of it is. So far, I agree. Langer's cooking air. Ash, you could be a mod. We know each other. If I like you enough to give you my mobile number, then you can definitely be a mod for my channel. We have some good football chats. What I love, Ash, when me and you talk football, we don't agree on everything, but we have good football chats. I didn't think we would, but it was a great ride. Was it a great ride? Our form in the second half of the season was horrific. What was great about the ride? This is what I don't get. I really, really, really don't get it. But hey, each to their own. If you think it was, then great. Jimmy James said, you're able to articulate my exact thoughts and feelings for the club better than I can. Love your take on all things Spurs. Keep up the good work. Look, it's difficult, isn't it? Because no matter how much as YouTubers we try and articulate things, people are always going to have a go. Yeah. Basically, what happens in the YouTube world is me articulating why I don't rate our transfer policy is Savva, you're a negative, CUNT, blah, 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 go and die, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. Listen, guys and girls, I am going to look at a couple of super chats. George, big up, always here in the chat. Always very generous. Much love, my man. Said, I'm going for a nice coffee after the show. Have a drink on me, Savva. Thanks again for the regular Spurs content. Big up, George. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate that. Always very kind to me, so thank you. And Jerome, who's been overwhelmingly kind this show, said, I know people are going to laugh at me, but Richarlison, there is a player in him if he can stay fit. Look at his performance against Liverpool. Jerome, look, for me, I don't rate him. I'll be honest. I think Richarlison is one of those that 1 in every 10 games, he looks good. I think he'll grab a couple of scrappy goals. I think he's a handful in the air at times. For me, again, it's too hit and miss with him. It's there's no consistency, and there's a reason why his goal scoring throughout his career has been patchy. That's being kind. So, look, thanks so much for the super chat. I'm going to respectfully disagree with your point, but each to their own. And George has given away a Football Heritage TV channel membership as well, which has gone to Angus of all people. He's gone to Angus, so big up. Thank you so much for that. Everybody, thank you so much. As I said, feel free, if you want to put a comment in the chat after the show, a comment in the comment section, we can still continue to debate. Keep it clean. It does get a little bit boring with the abuse, so let's just keep it clean, talk football, and we'll take it from there. Much love. Thanks for all having me back. Take care. And as always, come on, are you Spurs?